view the summary page of the negotiation stat result. I'm guessing it's the one that talks about the part B table that they have. Which team had the highest free money value?
So they want us to review this together?
What the
additional case?
yeah, I think so. But if you scroll down to the last page, it gives you like a summary of the negotiation terms for both of the ventures.
Okay.
So it asks us for like who has the highest free money value. What is it? From them, obviously, is Astaria, but I feel like PB could have a higher pre-money value just because it gives you a range of like 3 million to 10 million dollars. So they could range. I mean, it could also be the highest.
$10 million. So 10 million means if the company is worth 30 million, then you've just added 10 million to it, and so now they own 10 million out of 40 million, which means they have 25%. Or no, yeah. Whereas the other company is 7.5 million, and it says 40%. So that looks like a lower valuation.
Yeah. So out of those two, then the lowest pre-money is the Prosper Fund. But it's interesting how even though they have the lowest pre-money, they have the highest percentage stake. You saw that?
That I guess that means that they're saying they're giving it a lower valuation.
Maybe. True. Okay. And then he says who has the lowest. Where did your team fall?
All about that percentage. It says percentage of stake. So if they have a 40% stake in the company, Astoria is better. 10 million for only 25% of the company versus 7.5 million for 40% of the company.
Then you will go to Asteria Partners in that case, right? Because they have.
They're taking less of your equity.
Yeah. Astoria, sorry.
Astoria.
Astoria. So then are we in agreement that they should go to Astoria?
Based on a valuation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Shoes teams that showed extreme in performance and asked what happened that led to the results. I don't understand what it is there. Well, we kind of explained it. didn't we? We looked at the valuation, and that's how we decided. Or the percentage of stake.
Teams that showed extremes in performance. That's what happened that led to the results. I don't think that's a well written question. I don't think it has to. I think that's a failure of the syllabus.
Right.
I don't think that's how we're. Yeah, it says your team needs to email it. Yeah, so we don't compare between teams, so that doesn't apply to us.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Let's just go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just reading it. Choose a student from the DuPage Ventures. Hold on a second. What's that?
So from the DPV side, is asking us like what was like basically like the negotiation points, their terms. And I think for valuation, it said that they valuated around like 2 or 8 or something like that. Maybe I'm confusing the
We
numbers.
talk about 2 times.
No, million.
Oh,
Charles, do you
what?
want to contribute? Help us find.
So the
Oh yeah, so it says that they were gonna have 8 million of revenue in 2012. And I think they were trying to figure out with that guy Dank, I think it's called, like how their sales and stuff to do the evaluation.
I'm kind of reading through again on this part B.
Yeah. Well, part B talks about the other two.
Right. I was trying to look to see where if it had any information on what DuPage mentioned, and it doesn't.
Oh.
So do we? So the question says choose a, so okay from DuPage point of view. So it says what's the valuation? What's the internal rate of return?
Yeah.
What are your goals for board seats? How important is the deal? And does MuMate fit our investment focus?
But if you look at the information for DPV, it doesn't really gives us information of valuation or IRR.
Internal rate of return (IRR). Yeah.
It's kind of like a vague.
So
I know
we're
that for the board seats, they wanted to have a member of their BC, like have like kind of like a silent
yeah.
board member. Uh, and then I know that for their equity, they were wanting their average was like from 13 to 20%, I think it was.
No, so it says so they average a 25% pre-tax IRR. This is on page 4.
Or
Um,
yeah, there you go.
and then yeah, I'll share my screen.
I saw it.
All right, I'm sharing my screen. So 25% rate of return, and then an equity stake usually between 20 and 30%. But as far as anything else, it doesn't really say anything else, does it not?
Mm-mm. Then he just talks about like their calculations and stuff.
I mean, are we supposed to look at this from the point of view of the venture firm?
Yeah.
I see.
But it doesn't give us a lot of information. That's the thing.
Yeah, this is all just data in general.
Yeah.
But I have to turn this clockwise. So here's the financials. Is this in millions of dollars? No.
I believe so.
So in 2011 they only made 900,000. Almost made $1 million.
Yeah, because it mentioned on page 5 the that they were projected to have a revenue of 8 million. So I'm guessing they were reaching their millions already.
So in 2012 they're expecting to do 10 times or 9 times their current revenue.
I think so.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
And it just keeps like growing after that.
Okay.
The other question is like, how important is this deal to DPV? Once in a lifetime, pretty good, or pass? I feel like DPV has so. I feel like they're that kind of firm that has so many um companies or like venture companies already, or that they're
Companies that
financing.
it's invested in.
Yes. So I feel like they could take the negotiation as a it's like another one, you know.
Somewhere I was reading that DuPage Ventures was actually having a hard time coming up with funding with capital. I don't remember where I read that.
Wait, are you confusing it with Astoria? Because Astoria was the one that's having trouble.
Maybe that was it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so
Because it's a venture company that's very well known, I guess, or something like that. The reputation is really well.
so I mean, if we had to, so this is what were your goals for the negotiation? we have to come out. So what would be, so if we had a valuation of this beverage company, what would you value it in return? If we're 25% average, then I'm thinking you'd want to at least to get 25, maybe 30%.
Which I think that's why
I
they
think,
have the IRR, so like, what was it, 25%?
mm-hmm. DuPage, is that a county in Illinois? Huh? Huh. Well, it says that it does currently invest in what healthy kind of lifestyle stuff. So I guess it would fit. It would fit their
Their focused investment fund?
yeah.
Okay.
As far as a valuation goes, I don't know how the firm would figure out the valuation.
Well, it talked about how the co-founders and Dank were discussing um like trying to figure out the financials, so just so they can figure out the valuation.
Right.
At this point, they don't know how
Well, it talked about transaction multiples.
yeah.
So I'm looking at the acquisition values. Um, What is the LTM sales?
The LTV.
Oh, last 12 months. Okay. So what would be a good brand to compare it to?
Huh.
I mean, some of these juice companies were pretty, and Naked Juice and Odwalla. I think those were pretty big.
Yeah, and I don't think they're that big at this point. Well, they are, but it's not like I haven't even tried any of these drinks to tell you the truth, so I don't know what compares.
Yeah. So, I mean, 30 million, 66 million, 57 million, 28, 25 million are kind of the acquisition of some of these smaller ones. So, value to sales, 1.2, 1.4.
Like percent?
Is that the ratio 1.4? So, I'm thinking that means if the company sold, you know, $1 million worth of product, then you bought the company for 1.2 million.
Okay.
According to this.
Yeah.
So Izzy bought. Let's see. Well, Pepsi bought Izzy for 57 million. The sales were 15 million, and so yeah, so 3.8 times sales. So and it looks like, I mean, the median is 1.4. So if if they did 8 million in 2012, then maybe you could value the company at like 14 million.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be slightly under twice the amount for revenue. Um, I mean, if I was the firm, I wouldn't want to. I don't think I would value it at like 40 million or 30 million.
Me neither. Unless they were looking at 2015 projections, which puts them for like 50 million on sales.
Yeah. Well, so this is 2012. I mean, it says in the beginning of the thing, it says it was 2012 that they were meeting
Yeah.
and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if that's truly their track, I mean, if they're on track to do that, then yeah, you could maybe say, all right. I mean, if they were like picked up in like if Starbucks started to sell it or something crazy like that.
Yeah. Well, it said they had it. They had a lot of what was the list? They had it on Costco, CVS, Kroger's, KFC, Target, Trader Joe's, Walgreens, Whole Foods. But I feel like if they have it like in some kind like Starbucks or like some kind of like restaurant that it's fancy.
Huh. All right. Well, yeah. If they're in the middle looking at 2012 and they're saying, "Hey, our projections are going to go through,"
Yeah.
then maybe they could. I could see them saying, "All right, well, let's base it on 2013." You know. Um. So what? I guess. How's the follow up question go here? Well, it says the next question starts asking about the MuMate.
Time.
But if I'm the venture firm, I'm thinking about how the other one's set up. I'm thinking having a smaller investment, like so maybe 2 million up front, and
Yeah.
then so
Wait.
we'll say, all right, we'll value the company at $40 million, but we're going to put in 2 million now, and then you need to hit your 2013 numbers. If you do 15 million next year, then we'll put in the rest. And we'll give you a valuation of twice your revenue.
But in that case, because MuMate wants 2.5 at least, so it has to be at least like 2.5. That makes sense.
Yeah. So as far as board members go, obviously, a spot on the board, but
Silent member. He just watches. I think they just like wanted to give advice. He don't have a vote on the board.
so then it's asking from the MuMate side, did the co-founders see things the same way, or were you focused on other interests?
Well, we definitely want to focus on pre-money value and the deal terms.
I don't. I mean, I don't think we have. If I was the company, I wouldn't have I would probably want two spots on the board.
Yeah.
The venture capital firm should be on the board. I'm okay with that. And then
Definitely, like the deal terms are important. They're up there. Just because, like, that's how much it tells you how much the venture company wants to own and how everything's set up.
yeah.
And then the pre-money, like, is also important just because um you have to make sure that they give you the at least the amount of money that you need to survive, basically.
So we know that the company needs a certain dollar amount up front, right?
Yeah.
Didn't you said it was 2.5 million?
Yeah. Just so they can break even.
So they like need to have that.
Yeah. What is option pool? I tried to search it, but it just confused me more.
Oh, the option pool is when option pool is for your managers and your other executives, so that you could give them some ownership in the company.
Oh, okay.
So,
Oh,
so if you have 10% option pool, that means everybody gets diluted, and your employees are going to start owning 10% of the company.
wait. So if everything, okay, can you repeat that again? Sorry.
All right. Well, if I'm sharing my screen, do you see the
Yeah.
you see the okay? So you see where it says option pool here? Yeah. So this is 17.5%
That's
of
a
equity.
lot.
Yeah. Set aside for all the other employees.
That is a lot. I feel like.
So yeah, that means that I mean, we did that spreadsheet a while ago where you could see what happened when you started giving away your company. But I guess it's all for motivation. To motivate your leaders to be part of the company.
Yeah. But then if investors go away, then does that percentage goes up? Does that make sense?
Say that again?
So if investors start to leave, let's suppose you had 5 investors and then 2 want to sell out. Does that mean that percentage of option pool goes up?
Oh yeah, you buy back the shares, yeah. Well, no.
No, because I will be buying the shares.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Right.
Does that make sense? Okay. Sorry, off topic. How do offering properties affect this type of negotiation? Priority. Sorry.
How do differing priorities? Well, obviously, MuMate wants a higher valuation so they don't lose equity and they get more money. And the venture capitalist firm that wants to lower their risk and wants a good rate of return. So if they pay too much for their investment, then they're not going to get a good rate of return.
Yeah.
Um, who has the upper hand?
DuPage. Right? Charles,
Depends.
what do you think? You're too quiet. Charles,
What?
what do you think? Who has the upper hand?
I'm not sure offhand. I do not like. I don't. I definitely don't like Astoria Partners at all.
No, I mean from who has the upper hand between DuPage or MuMate?
Um, I would say. I don't think MuMate has the upper hand.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Um, I don't think they have the upper hand just because they are kind of desperate for capital right now. They're bleeding red. They're not bleeding black.
I think that they have to. I think it's expensive to get their inventory out there.
Yep.
Yes, because their distribution is not the greatest.
So this is the page here. It talks about how grocery chains, coffee shops, vending machines. And if these people want product delivered and then they want terms to pay for it, they can sell $3 million worth of beverages, but if it takes 3 months or something like that to pay for it.
True.
Who somewhere before it said they had to pay?
Yes, they had to pay to something about they had to what was it? They had to pay to for inventory for the different companies for them to be willing to stock their beverage.
Right. Because I wasn't sure if it was that they had to pay or that they had to give the inventory for free and then they got, they had to sell it first, or if they had to pay for the shelf.
Oh,
But anyway,
I know what you're saying though. I remember reading something like that.
but at least if
They
they
have to,
if they
give
have
it
a couple offers, I mean, if they have Astoria and Prosper, if these are two serious offers to consider, then
Yeah.
MuMate kind of has some advantage that they're not dealing with just one company, with one venture firm. So, I mean, are these two other offers really good offers?
I don't think they're really that good. Well, I mean, like, the thing with Austria is that they are struggling with raising money. So then they put that term of like distribution in two parts or something like that. So from that side, I don't feel like there's a safe route to go with Austria. Now with Prosper, we have the percentage thing. We also have that the person that they want on the board is lacking packaged goods experience, which isn't that what they were looking for also, kind of.
Right.
So from my point of view, I think that equity still is up there.
Oh, give mama the water. Hey, give mama the water. Water. Give mama the water. We gotta get water for mama. Hold on a second. I stepped away.
Well, and I liked out of all of them, I like the DuPage Ventures more because their equity in the company was only 20 to 30%.
Yeah.
Whereas the other one that I liked was the Prosper Fund, but they want 40% of the company.
Yep.
Which I'm sorry, I'm not about ready to give a company that much equity in my company.
And then they also have angel investors, so that means that their percentage will be smaller.
Yes.
Too.
I do not understand is just stay with angel investors and then try and open up to IPOs and build capital that way instead of going down the road of using VCs.
Huh. I think we agree that Prosper wants too much equity. It's a weird trade-off. I think you got to go with who gives you the money that you need. Who will give you the money this next round, or who, because they can get. I don't know if what the term. I thought there was a restriction because you need the first round of cash, but then if you need a second round of cash, that's important. So, who's willing to fund the next level of funding?
Well, I would stay with angels, and then I would try and go the IPO route. Because I would rather try and stay away from giving other investors a large
These other angel investors, though, they're like family and friends. I don't think they can like support a $1 million company with just family and friends.
Correct. But it also seemed that after they went and they hired what was his name, Dunk, DANK, that their business started multiplying, which was good. And if it keeps on multiplying, then they will end up with the added capital that they would need to try and build their business slowly but surely. And
Here, oh,
and keep the proper quality of the product, because a lot of because under negotiations, one of the things that they were that a tailor was worried about is that they would be pressured to adjust their formulas to use cheaper ingredients.
Yeah.
Which is not good, because if your quality of the product goes down, your quantity is great, but you'll lose customers because they like that quality of the product.
yeah. Sometimes you can trick the consumer, though.
Yeah, but pretty soon they'll they
I
might
think that's what they did with those naked juices. An Odwalla, those whole food kind of juice products.
Yeah.
I think that's what happened with those. I think they were better ingredients from the start, and then when the corporate companies bought them, I think they somehow made them less expensive to make. Something with the ingredients. I remember reading about that somewhere.
And now they're full of sugar. More sugar than natural sugar.
Here's what I was mentioning though about how Astoria has these terms here where the firm has to meet, or the beverage company has to meet certain requirements.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I was a venture capitalist firm, that's probably what I would pick.
Yeah, but then if you look at the reputation of the company, it talks about how they're having trouble raising money, which I think is why they put that term there.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, so they don't want it, right. They don't want to put money out unless they can make it back, and they are getting pressure for getting better rates of return. Their rates of return aren't as good as their investors want. Any other? So, where are we at now on questions?
Question
7. How did the VC go about valuing MuMate?
Well, that's the thing. Like, it doesn't really explain how. I mean, it mentions how they were trying to figure out their projections and sales, but it doesn't really give us like.
Yeah, there was a lot missing in this case study.
Yeah,
I found.
I think it's because this was supposed to. I think this was designed to have teams like spend a lot of time working on it and like role play through the scenario. And one team be the venture firm and one team be the beverage company, and like have all the spreadsheets out in front of you and everything.
Let's go on to question 8. What have you learned about bargaining
tactics?
Should MuMate disclose that they have other offers? What do you think?
No.
Why is that?
Okay, so from my experience, when I was getting a bank loan,
yes,
when I told somebody I was talking to another bank, they just said, "Oh, well, you should just work with them then." And I was like, "No, I want banks to compete. I want to get the most competitive offer." But the guy was like, "Well, you should, we'll give you a fair value, and most banks will come close. And if you're going to work with so and so, and it's not really worth the time. You know that because we're going to ask you questions. You're going to need to do all this stuff, and he was trying to, in polite terms, trying to say that it's like not worth the time, and in polite terms, trying to like save me time from trying to have to negotiate and keep track of all these different banks. But the way I was looking at it was, no, I want I want you guys to get me the best offer, and then when I get an offer, I want to go to the other bank and I want to say, hey, these guys are willing to do 5.6%. You know, could you do 5.5?
Yeah.
And they don't want to do that. These guys don't want to do that. They're like, nope, I don't want to.
They don't want to take the extra time unless they are going to get paid, unless they are going to get you as a client.
Right, and they don't want to say, oh, here's our terms, and then the other firm find out, oh, that's their terms. Oh, right.
Yeah.
So
Do
if the other what's
hardball
that?
tactics make sense in negotiating like this?
Oh, what's a hardball tactic though? Like not telling somebody that I have other firms interested. I don't think that's hardball.
They're probably, if I had to guess, they're probably referring to pitting one financial institution against another. That's my guess.
I mean, if it's like like board positions or percentages and things, I'm surprised when entities or people aren't willing to counteroffer.
Yeah.
So, like when people aren't willing to counteroffer, I'm kind of like, what? No, you always have a counteroffer.
Yeah.
But I do also understand at the same time when somebody puts forth their very best effort and they put their best offer on the table, you know, like this is the very best offer. I know how much work we're going to put into it. You know, I'm making the smallest margin I'm allowed to, you know, I can make, you know what I mean? So I understand both sides, but I just, when there's always, seems like there should be always some room for negotiation, you know, maybe ask for a little bit more money, maybe ask for, I don't know, the board or a position on the board or something.
Yeah. I feel also like it has people like like you're working with some other company, then they want to make the best offer. Does that make sense? So maybe like disclosing that they have other offers can help them get better options or better terms.
Yeah, I mean, because when you say we're looking at all of our financing options, that's pretty vague.
Yeah.
If you say, well, we might have an offer that values our company. You know, we've talked to some professionals and we feel that that value is too low.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and immediately the person is like, well, who have you been talking to?
Yeah.
So
Conflict, discuss key takeaways. Terms allocated, economic and control rights, conflict
are
priorities.
those terms we're supposed to know?
I have no idea. I don't think so.
Terms allocate economic and control rights. Control right.
Are they meaning like the sheet terms? Is that what it's called?
No. Okay. So here, I'm looking it up. What is control right? the legal entitlements granted to an investor holding a share of common stock, including the right to transfer shares, receive regular and accurate financial disclosure, vote on specific issues at the company. So, control right is yeah, you get to vote and you get to see the financial information, and you own the shares just like everybody else. So if you want to sell your shares, you can.
Cool.
Economic rights? Huh. What's the other one? What was the other one?
Sorry?
What's the other question? What's the other thing? Key takeaways?
It says conflict priorities of investors and entrepreneurs in upside or downside scenarios. So I guess there are different point of views. Is this kind of like a summary of all we have talked about?
Yeah.
To be honest, I'm not too concerned about number 9 because it's not a question. So as far as I'm concerned, we finished all the questions. So if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and stop the broadcast.
Sure.